This is Hannibal here, back from the Hannibal TV on YouTube. Please subscribe. We're almost at 510,000. Slow news day today, and a lot of people have been asking me lately, what does wrestling need to get back in the right direction? It's not been a good year overall for wrestling. However, it seems like people are being in denial as this just popped up in my feed. John Cena says wrestling is in another golden age. And then I saw Tony Khan had a press conference for Ring of Honor this week and said he thought that this year was AEW's best year ever. Now, are these people just in denial because how can it be a golden age if wrestling's not even popular enough to have house shows? Because if it was popular, they would be making money on house shows. The reason they don't do house shows is because they can't draw enough to have house shows. AEW had many shows, many tapings this year in front of under 1,000 fans. How can they say this is the best year ever when they started, they were selling out major arenas instantly, getting 16, 18,000 people? Now, if they get 2,000, it's a celebration. And they're ending the year in a small building, Hammerstein Ballroom in New York. And they're starting the year next year with a residency in a small ballroom in Chicago. So how can you say, I mean, and you said the best year ever? They've hit as low as a 0.06 rating for Dynamite this year. And it looks like they're losing WBD because Netflix is buying it. What a wonderful year. And on WWE's end, they got the lowest rating for SmackDown in the history of SmackDown since SmackDown started, and the lower viewership of Raw, even though it airs globally on Netflix as well. But it's doing better than ever. But let's talk about some of the main things. The wrestling industry is missing more Steve Austins and Tony Storms. The one thing I'll say about Tony Storm is she does seem to be over. Yet they don't use her every week. And supposedly she only makes around 250 grand a year, which is strange because apparently Britt Baker makes over $1 million a year and she hasn't even wrestled in about a year. If I was WBD, I'd be furious at AEW for getting horrible ratings, but they don't put their top stars on the program that they're supposedly being paid 180 million a year for. If you were paying some company 180 million a year, which is overpaying them, and I even heard Dave Meltzer say on Wrestling Observer Radio, he's a fan of this crap from all the companies, and he even said all these companies are being overpaid right now. ESPN is having buyer's remorse. Whatever they paid WWE for their pay-per-views, they didn't get it back in subscribers yet. They've had something like 2 or 3 pay-per-views so far, WrestlePalooza, Survivor Series, and maybe something else. I'm not sure. But they haven't been very well received pay-per-views, viewership standpoint. And from people subscribing to watch, it's like they used to get it on Peacock, which depending on what level you bought, it was very cheap. Now you have to buy Netflix for Raw if you live in the US. Peacock, well, Peacock is going to end for John Cena's retirement match. So the Peacock deal's done. Peacock clearly didn't make money on that. The whole relationship with WWE is over with the Cena retirement. They canceled Saturday. They're in a golden era, but Saturday night's main event got canceled after the Goldberg versus Gunther match. So what do? They give they give John Cena Gunther for his retirement match. How does he plug it? Oh, it's going to be an honor to wrestle Gunther in my retirement match. I don't know. You've called it here AI audiobooks 411. Believability is what's missing. Realism is what's missing. And people can say all they want. Well, everybody knows it's fake. You don't have to try to make it look real or try to make people believe. Yes, you do. What? Everyone knows a movie's fake too. Is that an excuse to somehow show something before before the movie starts, to show that, hey, by the way, these guys are really friends? Just so you guys know. I mean, the constant, they put stuff on the YouTube channel that's out of character and in character. And even with the Cena heel turn, that was a total flop. It did have some momentum at the start, but they showed the heel turn on YouTube. Then, like 20 minutes later, on the same YouTube channel, The Rock was out of character at the press conference talking about pulling off the heel turn. How is that a heel turn? Well, you don't have to have people suspend their disbelief anymore. Everyone knows it's fake. And why did The Rock do that? Why did The Rock do that? Because he didn't want Cena to succeed. Let's face the facts here. Even though he's one of the top shareholders, Cena's competition to him. I don't think The Rock really wanted this to be a great success for Cena, because The Rock wants to come in and save the day whenever he saves the day again from business being down, which, by the way, it's headed in a downward direction. Eric Von Erich says, thank you. Piper's doing well. She does not like winter. Looking forward to hopefully seeing her again. I would love to bring her here to where I am. Someone says realism, great characters, compelling storylines, build ups to pay per views are what we are missing. I agree too. The one thing we're missing is great characters. I've heard someone mention Tony Storm was a good character. Who else is a good character these days? Brock Lesnar, who's 58. Which, by the way, how is Billy Gunn, when they don't even use him, how is he still under AEW contract in his 60s? Is he just the most charitable person in the world? I posted some clips of Jake the Snake drunk at an indie event recently that I bought from RF Video, and I didn't even know he was that messed up. But it's funny. Everyone's like, "Oh, Jake's really pulled himself together." Guys, he supposedly makes 600,000 a year for doing nothing in AEW. He doesn't have to be on the indies. Do you know how depressing the indies you are when you were a star? You have to go back. No wonder people like Jake would drink on the indies. But but here's the thing, they've got Jake. Jake knows how to make things better. If you ask him, he'll tell you he was on top for 28 years. Where he gets 28 years from, I really don't know. Cuz his only on top WWE feud was against the Macho Man. That didn't last 28 years. Because the Undertaker feud was a mid card feud. The Warrior feud never happened. The Honky Tonk Man was a mid card feud. So the 28 years on top, does that include the Sting WCW feud, which I don't even know if he was in WCW for a year? Or does he mean I was on top of the indies? I really don't know. I'll give him credit. He was messed up when he said it. And I'm not hating on Jake. I just think for the amount that they pay him, use his brain. But Tony Khan wants to have his hands on everything. He doesn't listen to guys like Jake Roberts and Jim Ross. And for great characters, tell me who are some of the good characters that you believe in? I mean, Roman Reigns was one of the better ones, but again, he's had too many breaks. Someone mentioned you need more Austins. Remember how hard Austin like fought to get back after the neck break, and he, even as he was cut recovering, he was still on TV. and he needed knee surgeries, he's still going out there with knee braces. Now people will just, because of guaranteed contracts, they'll just take time off. Like MJF, he was getting hot for a while, but then he pretty much only wrestles here and there now. So he's lost his momentum. Roman Reigns was really hot before he lost the title, but he's been disappeared so long, people stop caring. I mean, he's still one of their top guys, but he doesn't have a buzz about him anymore. Somebody says they just watch the highlights of wrestling today. They don't watch the product. The storylines are horrible and hard to get into. I miss the surprises. Malik misses house shows. Roy checking in from East Tennessee. Tennessee used to be a hotbed for wrestling. What if Randy Orton attacks Gunther before the match and he and Cena face one more time? I would rather see Cena against Orton. Who, by the way, Ric Flair, even though Randy Orton is massive these days, Ric Flair says he's off the gas, and Cena has said on the record that he's never taken anything, for whatever that's worth. A heel with major heat is also missing. They don't. If you get major heat these days, they try and cancel you. Look at how much heat the Blood Hunter had in 2021. And I'm just saying this, I would be one of the top heels, if not the top heel, if I were to get the chance. But I can't even get a friggin' JCW match, as much as Vince Russo claims to be my friend. No one will even give me the opportunity to prove myself. Wrestling is very political. Do I think AEW will be on Netflix next year? 100% no. I think Netflix is going to cancel AEW. Will they end up somewhere else? Yes, but I do not think Netflix is going to keep AEW's contract. I don't know how long they will have to keep paying them, but there's just no way in hell. First of all, it's not getting good ratings. It's getting bad ratings. Second of all, WWE is not going to want them on Netflix, and WWE is a better partner for them. Someone says it would be awesome if Kurt Angle was able to fight Cena in his last match. That's what John Cena's father said. John Cena's father went on the record and said that he does not want Cena to fight Gunther. He wanted to see Cena against Kurt Angle or Edge, and he named someone else. It may have been Orton. Obviously, Edge is under AEW contract, and Tony Khan was not going to allow that. But Angle has aged a lot if you've seen him recently, but it could have been done. I mean, I think there'd be more buzz if it was Angle, because for me, I would at least watch that to see if Angle could still go. But I think the one guy, I mean, you have it here. If if someone were to attack Gunther and someone else wrestle Cena, I think that's the only way they could save this. But maybe since they're ending the Peacock deal, they just don't care to try and make that a memorable finish. Robert has always enjoyed watching heels against heels. It hasn't been entertaining since about 2002. MKM feature says the only thing in all that time I was entertained by was Jericho's list. The most entertaining 2002 was a good year because 2001 they closed WCW and they got like all the lower end WCW guys. 2002 Hulk Hogan came to WWE, Nash and Hall. You could say it wasn't executed very well, and Austin had a lot of issues between the beating of Deborah and the temper tantrum over Brock, where we never got like the Austin versus Hogan or the Austin versus like I don't think we got Austin versus Nash. We had Austin versus Hall, but then Hall was having demon issues. Here's a funny story. Apparently, at one point, they did an angle. It's not funny, it's kind of sad. Scott Hall was on this anti alcohol med that makes you sick if you have alcohol called Anabuse. And they did an angle where they poured alcohol over Scott Hall in WWE while he was on this anti alcohol medication. And it makes you like allergic to alcohol. And he had this like allergic reaction to alcohol because of the medication he was on during the segment. That's real sad. But yeah, 2002 was good. And then pretty much at the time that Hogan and Piper left, that's when it went into the dark period where I can honestly say 2002 was the last year I watched regularly. You called it. You called it there. And then 2005, I think, is when they had Hogan and Michaels, right? I did watch in 2005 again when Hogan was back again. And then I stopped watching again in 2006, and I haven't watched full time since. Will there be another Demolition or Colonel Parker interview? More likely than not, yes. For Nails, I think I'm going to actually go to Minnesota to do that one. So it's just a matter of timing. Pentagram Dave says the overexposure of Rhea, Sammy, and others has really turned him off. Rhea is another one that doesn't kayfabe the greatest. And she's one of the ones that complains about the fans the most, along with Punk. Here's the one thing I know that there are some professional autograph seekers and stuff. Just tell them to F off. But but the people that really complain about the fans asking for autographs, for God's sake, you're lucky if you wrestle twice a month because there's like four or five shows a month and you don't wrestle on every show. I mean, you make the minimum pay is 350 grand in WWE. You don't have to work a normal job. God forbid someone asks you for an autograph. It's not like there's fan attacks anymore. The last fan attack was when the handicap kid beat up Seth Rollins. And the time before that was the guy that, remember the guy that took down Bret Hart at the Hall of Fame? Whatever happened to him? If you look at it, he was never, nothing ever came of that. I wonder whatever happened with that. Did I ever wrestle for the Insane Clown Posse? No. I told them I would be open to it because it's a good show, but I think they could use a vicious, realistic wrestler in that company. That's just my opinion. And oh yeah, and for the overexposure of Sami Zayn, the overexposure of Kevin Owens as well. Those guys are freaking channel changers. Ric Flair can run 10 miles on the treadmill in 3 minutes. I don't know about that. Better heels, yes. Here's the thing, wasn't Cena just a heel and he had that bitter feud with CM Punk? Literally a couple months later, they're hugging in the ring, and CM Punk is telling Cena he's the greatest of all time. It's just disgusting. Matthew says he's heard Ric Flair say that. Will Adam Lust, which was what I used to do when I had that gimmick, wrestle for JCW? I don't know. Ask Vince Russo. Did I ever interview Shaggy? Too dope. No, but Violent J is supposed to do an interview with me soon. What about John Cena against Joe Henry? Here's what I have to say about Joe Henry. He was over, I don't know if it was a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, he had a real buzz to him. They didn't go with him when he had the most buzz to him. And now, I mean, let's face the facts here. That's not a character that you want to see forever. Is it one of the better characters of this era? Yeah. But it's not like it's like the PCO gimmick. that it has a short shelf life. Maybe he can do another character, but I don't think the Joe Hendry character is a character that has a long shelf life. You don't like there's only so long you can hear a song before you get sick of hearing a song. And I'm not saying he's bad or anything. I'm just saying I think they should have when he was really hot like a year and a half ago, they should have went with it then and say what you want, him doing the squash job against Orton at WrestleMania, that took a lot of steam out of him. It truly did. People can say, well, he was on WrestleMania. Yeah, he was on WrestleMania. But he squashed him in seconds and he made him look like crap. Was AAA a good investment for WWE? I guess we'll see. To me, from what I understand, WWE, the name and the brand of WWE is more popular in Mexico than AAA. And now they're like putting the WWE logo on the AAA posters. From talking to Vampiro, speaking of JCW, I did a Vampiro interview not too long ago. I asked him about it. He said in Mexico, you can't charge the crazy ticket prices. So he said if they somehow keep the ticket prices to lower and they start calling it WWE, people will go, but people aren't rich in Mexico. There's obviously some rich people, but overall, they don't have the money of Americans. So we'll see how that plays out. Do I think there's already too much wrestling? Yes. To now add AAA to it. See, they got TNA is part of WWE now. They just got a new TV deal. So there's a 2 hour TNA show. There's a 2 hour NXT show. There's a 3 hour SmackDown show. What? There's a 3 hour Raw show. And then some people watch AEW. Do we really need AAA on top of this? And Mexican wrestling, when you would see it on Nitro and stuff, it was cool. But like people do that style, the flippity floppity style, all the time. It's not like new and they don't sell. To me, it's just, I'm not into it. I'm not into it at all. Mason says we need more logic. Tiger Ali Singh, I would interview. I think I may have an interview with him on my channel through John Paz. I believe I might. Someone says get rid of the 15-minute long promos to start off the show. I agree. It's like, how can you have two people that hate each other, which happens so much, standing in the same ring talking for 15 minutes? I am a guy that has been in a ridiculous amount of fights from my years bouncing and stuff. And when you want to fight someone, you're never just going to stand there talking for 15 minutes. It's just so unbelievable. We're just going to stand here insulting ourselves for 15 minutes. And again, it's played out. We've seen this format since the Attitude Era. They do need to scrap that. Companies moving to the paid channels are losing fans. I agree. More and more people are just watching the YouTube highlights. Did I ever have a small match? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I've probably had at least, I would say, I started wrestling in 2001. And I've had off periods, like I haven't really wrestled in the past 3 years. I am in great shape now, though. Training twice a day, doing DDP yoga every day. About 275. But yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. I've had matches in front of nobody, and I've had WWE matches and TNA matches, and I wrestled in Puerto Rico when we were drawing well. Wrestled in England, wrestled in Dominican Republic. Roy says he thinks someone will interfere in the Cena versus Gunther match, and WWE is going to make them both look good. Yeah, I think Gunther's like a mid card guy, very low level personality, blah physique. Yes, he has a hard chop, but if he wrestled me, I would chop the shit out of him. I don't think he has as hard a chop as me. And I have felt Haku's chops. I don't think he has as hard a chop as Haku. Is the XFL gone again? Yes. God, that has been just a disaster. The XFL. Oh my God. Victor Murphy. I'll keep an eye out for the old wrestling video games for play. You know what I just watched? I watched today 2.5 hours of Wrestling Challenge. I liked it. I saw Paul Orndorff, Kamala. I saw Dick Slater doing his rebel gimmick, teaming with Mike Sharp. I Here's where we're at. I would rather watch 2.5 hours of Wrestling Challenge from 1986 than anything from modern wrestling. That's literally all I watched in wrestling today, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, my Colonel Parker interview was good. He lives in a trailer in Florida now. Foreign Legham, Foreign Legum. I don't know how to pronounce that. Does the green shirt guy work for WWE? He's at all the events. Apparently, he's been going to less events now because of ticket prices being crazy high. Here's where you know wrestling is bad, when people pay attention to the fans. I don't know. I guess they were doing it in the ECW days when they had those group of guys. I wonder if those guys are still alive that used to sit in the front row. Would I write for wrestling company? I would produce for one. Back when they had SWE Fury, before Teddy Long ruined everything there and the company went out of business, which by the way, it only lasted 3 events after I left. And it was at its peak when I was involved. And I helped bring it to its peak. It was my idea to bring Ivelisse in and make her the champion. My matches were getting huge hits, and I was selecting what was going on in my matches. I I'm the one that helped tell them to bring Enzo in, which at the time got a good reaction. Um, I'm the one that told them to bring Selena De La Renta in. So yeah, I had some good ideas. I miss the bodybuilding wrestlers. Well, Gunther is certainly not a bodybuilding wrestler. Chris Masters. Apparently, Chris Masters had heat with Cena. Apparently, there was major heat between those two. He seems like a nice guy. I met him once at a PCW Ultra event where he fought Killer Cross. There's too much gymnastics in wrestling now. We always hear about, oh, the matches are so much better now. But someone mentioned earlier, one thing that's missing is realism. And I don't find the gymnastics stuff realistic. When I see the gymnastics stuff, I don't find that impressive. I'm just like, well, this is stupid. Would you ever see Bruiser Brody doing a Canadian destroyer? Did I ever have a shoot? Yes, I have. As far as real shoot fights, have I ever had to protect myself in the ring? Yes, but I've had to rough people up numerous times in the ring. But I wouldn't call them shoots because I was never in any danger of losing any of those matches, and I managed to stay in character when those incidents happen. Do I What do I think of the WWE bodybuilding competition? It was interesting. It was interesting. I liked it better than the XFL. Do I think heels from the 70s and 80s were better and more believable than the ones that currently grace our TVs? Yes. Incomparably better. It's an insult. Other than Lesnar. Lesnar is a good heel unless they remember the last thing I actually saw of Lesnar in a TV segment was when they did that thing where R-Truth was saying he was John Cena's brother, and they did some goofy, stupid thing there. But other than that, I do think Lesnar is a good heel. But I think that Cody Rhodes is not over as the champion right now. Cody Rhodes is a flop champion. They should have Brock Lesnar as the champion right now. He's the most over. He's the most over and the most believable. And it's funny. I heard Triple H say, "Oh, Roman Reigns doesn't need the title. Roman Reigns has reached a point where he doesn't need a title." That might be true, but your company's lost a shitload of momentum since you took the title off of him. Yes, people wanted to see Cody win it. I don't think anyone wants to see Cody as the champion right now. It's just I don't think either of the first of all, there shouldn't be two world titles. There's something that they should get rid of. Too many titles in wrestling. They should definitely get rid of that. Wrestling Challenge was fun to watch. Yeah. Saturday morning wrestling was good. Hey, I was the most over heel in 2021 by far. So much so that I made international news at the end of 2021 and got canceled because I was too bad of a heel. But my matches were getting hundreds of thousands of hits in 2021. But I'm not politically friendly. But I guarantee you, I don't think you would ever. I tell the truth about AEW all the time, so I don't think they would ever give me the chance. If they did, AEW would get a buzz. WWE, I'm way too far from corporate, and they don't like my medical history, so I don't think they would ever put me in WWE. But even if they put me in JCW, I could make a difference in any company. That's just the damn truth. Because I am realistic. I know how to make people believe as well. And I have a lot of aggression to take out. The days of Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood were great wrestling. Do I think WWE will ever put Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express in the Hall of Fame? It's possible, but they might. Well, when he dies, for sure. The thing is, if you put Jim Cornette in the Hall of Fame, then he starts ranting on WWE again. He has that title of WWE Hall of Famer. I've now figured out why they won't put Marty Jannetty in the Hall of Fame. I used to think it was just Shawn Michaels being an asshole. Now I've seen the bad side of Marty Jannetty, the liar side, and the true addict side of him. I know why they don't put him in the Hall of Fame. They'll put him in when he's dead, but it's the same reason. They don't want to. They don't want it in the headlines. Oh, Hall of Famer Marty Jannetty has been arrested for cocaine possession. Hall of Famer has been arrested for an overdose. Hall of Famer says he murdered somebody. Hall of Famer says he wants to bang his daughter, which he actually said once. So that's why they won't put him in the Hall of Fame, because then it's like WWE Hall of Famer. When he's dead, they'll put him in when they know that he can't bring a bad name to the company. Did I ever watch the Eric Bischoff amateur wrestling show? I just don't. I find it. I used to be in amateur wrestling. It's a great sport to do, but I just find it so boring. Just have no interest to watch it. I wish them well, though. Someone did not like Buzz Sawyer when he was a kid because he was such a heel. Yeah, Buzz Sawyer. You see that? You know what? You could describe me as a Buzz Sawyer type of heel. I will actually fight if I have to, and I can be a full on heel. I don't care if people like me or not. I actually kind of like it when people hate on me. Someone says AEW, he's watched a little bit today. They had like 1,000 fans in Nashville. I think TNA brings in more fans than AEW. I think they're getting to the point, yeah. Grandma wants to see Stardust again. I just think Cody is overrated at this point. He's bland. Uh, I mean, Braun Breaker has potential for the future. Put the title on him, or put the title on someone that people want to see, like Lesnar. Or I wouldn't say put it back on Reigns because Reigns just I think, but Lesnar's over more than Reigns now. I would put, when you see business starting to go down, put it on someone like Lesnar. At least then you have a credible champion. I don't think Cody Rhodes is a must see champion. Someone said, Metal Bastards Radio said, that's a heel's job to piss off the crowd. Wrestling has become soft nowadays. Soft is a good way to put it. Is there a wrestler that I grew up liking and disliked after growing up? Yes. Yes. Um, there's a few of them. One that I'll tell you one good example. One guy that ended up being a total asshole of a person to deal with was Tatanka. I kind of liked him as a kid. He was never my favorite or anything, but to wrestle him, he had long nails, and I remember when he was chopping me and stuff. It's like he's cutting my nipples with his nails and stuff. But he was so arrogant. The ego on him, it made me just think of like what an asshole. And he always Tatanka always talks like he was one of the '80s wrestlers too. Oh, when we were doing this, blah blah blah, we had such big crowds and stuff. No, Tatanka came in during the down period, and they released him during the Attitude Era. And one guy that I didn't like and ended up liking, I'll say Lance Von Erich. I always like just fell for the narrative. Oh, he was the fake Von Erich, blah 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 blah. He's one of the nicest wrestlers I ever met. I became kind of instant friends with him, no ego. But Lance Von Erich has a star presence about him. He's a star. You can feel the aura of a star around Lance Von Erich. Roman Reigns has it too. I'll give that to Roman Reigns. Once I was doing security for WWE and Roman Reigns was around me, I think someone even took a picture of it. I could feel the aura of a star around Roman Reigns. Some people have it. Hulk Hogan has it. Lance Von Erich. I just think he's a great person. Someone says Evans on NXT. His wrestling moves are smooth. Not really. Is that Javon Evans? Someone says he believes that live events are doing good, like concerts, sports, live plays, and musicals, but live wrestling in person numbers are at its lowest point. For the tip, I don't think they're at their lowest point right now. Maybe for AEW, they're at their lowest. WWE, they weren't drawing for house shows. That's why they got rid of them, other than a few here and there. But I understand their Christmas tour is not selling well. They were getting like 12, 14, 16, 18,000 people for TV tapings for a few years there. Now it's going back down from like 6 to 10 or 11. So it's slowly going down. But keep in mind, there's no house shows and they're only running the big cities. So more people are driving in. But per capita, wrestling is at its lowest point in popularity. 100%. There used to be WWE, WCW, which did house shows, plus independents and territories. Now, like both WWE and AEW don't do house shows. A lot of weeks, AEW combines their Dynamite and Collision taping. Like for live, you are right. You could say, you know what, you are right because there's less wrestling shows happening now than there's been in decades. Giant Gonzalez beat Tatanka, yeah. Tatanka beat me twice in England, so maybe I'm just. I did give him good matches. Maybe I'm bitter about that, but I did find him to be a dick. I didn't like him. He has some type of criminal issue too. So when we brought him to I don't know if it's criminal or what, but he needed a special waiver to get into Canada, which was like $250 extra. I don't know exactly what it was from, some past legal thing. Someone says Wednesday's AEW show was better than SmackDown. Well, I'll pass, but thank you for letting us know. I could not watch. I do watch segments on YouTube. I do watch segments, and if they're good, I'll say it. And I haven't seen anything too good for a while. We all miss Virgil, yes. John Cena was a successful wrestler. I don't have any issues with John Cena other than how much he put China over. Because as I talked about in my review the other day, I don't like China how they torture dogs there. As a dog lover and as a dog father, but yeah, I don't have anything against John Cena, but obviously he's one of the top wrestlers of the modern era. I have nothing against him. I feel that they could have done a lot better job on his retirement tour. Why are referees not in the Hall of Fame? Because no one would care. Nobody would care. Grandma, thanks for coming on at night. You're welcome, and we'll do more of these. I appreciate all the feedback. Please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you for all your comments. Have a